So last week, I mentioned to you guys that that after the practitioner meeting, Catherine and Ash reached out to me to say, you know, you didn't do that in the best of ways. You sounded harsh. You were authoritative. And I was really grateful for the feedback and took it in and was not defensive at all and just said, that's great. Thank you for letting me know that. And then last Sunday morning, I was thinking about it and I realized I don't experience shame anymore. And I thought, oh my God, I don't experience shame anymore. Is this cool or what? It felt so freeing. It just felt like I was, it was like opened up, and it was this amazing feeling of freedom, you know? And so all week long, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking, how did I get here? What did I do to get here? Because maybe some of you'd want to know. And so I'm here to share that with you today, the things that I've discovered on how I reached a place where I don't experience shame anymore. And so here's the first thing I noticed, that we have this thing we do in a phrase. When we're talking to somebody, or thinking to ourselves, we go, don't blame and shame me. You know, blame and shame, they're like stuck together somehow. And I get how that happened. I totally get how that happened. But now that I'm not experiencing shame, I'm realizing blame still exists. You know why? We screw up. We're gonna make mistakes. We're flawed. And somebody's gonna wanna know who's at fault. And if it's me, I'm okay with that because I realize that when we defend ourselves, it's because of shame. That's the thing that makes us defend ourselves. Instead of just going, great, thanks for the feedback. This is useful. I want to grow anyway, right? We get defensive. If you're getting defensive, there's shame there. And so by separating those two out, I didn't have to worry about whether I was being blamed or not. In fact, I don't care because I'm going to make mistakes. I tell you that I promise you, I will make more mistakes. And if I do, I want to know about it. I'm not perfect. Anybody here perfect? Not made a mistake in ages. So that's the thing, right? How well are we with, now I have people, now these two, when they were talking to me, they were saying it to me in a very gentle way, very kind, maybe you want to think about this differently or whatever. I noticed that sometimes what comes out of my mouth is, what were you thinking? Now that's a little harsher, right? When people talk to you like that. And so, but in the end, it's still the same thing. And I've had people who have actually tried to shame me when they're blaming me. Maybe you've experienced that as well. But I noticed when that was happening that I wasn't taking it on. It's not mine. And so that's really cool, right? To get to a place where whatever somebody's doing, it's theirs. Now, they may be sharing something that's useful, but if you're in a place of, why are you so critical of me? Then you can't hear what might actually be useful because you're defending because you feel shamed by it. But if you feel shamed by it, what I've discovered is it's not them that did that to you, even if they're trying to. It's you that take it on. It was me that took it on. And so once I was able to see that, to separate out, and I love how people in the New Thought world use the word responsibility instead of the word shame as a way of diluting the fact they're really trying to blame you, right? Instead of saying, you're at fault, they'll say, you're responsible for that. Well, let me be clear about the word responsible. The word responsible can only occur in the moment, now. That's it. Responsibility means responding to the moment. That's what's happening now. So when we use that word about something that happened in the past, what we're really saying is you're at fault. You're to blame. It's your responsibility. What we're really saying is you're to blame. And I don't care. It doesn't make all that big a difference once you're clear that whether you're at fault or not, it's better if you think you really did do something to go, oh yeah, it was my bad. I mean, honestly, sometimes I've actually said, yeah, it's my bad when it wasn't, but I didn't care. Because I could be responsible for somehow making it shift. And that's what's really important, right? You want to be responsible. It isn't for what happened, it's what you do next. In AA, they call it making amends. I love making amends. You know, I have made so many messes in my life. I mean, so many that I'm really good at cleaning them up. I mean, that's how that works, right? That's right. Or at least makes better. So I'm really good at cleaning up the messes I make. And I make messes all the time. It kind of goes with the territory of going out there, living large, trying different things. You know, and the worst part is people who play small, who kind of stay in their house and don't do much, they still make messes. They're just doing it smaller. So when you make smaller, big messes, get good at cleaning them up, and then you don't have to worry about it. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You just, I made a mess, got to clean it up, okay. Right? Does that make sense? So once I got clear on all that, it became easy to stop being defensive when somebody said, you did something that, you screwed up. Okay, I screwed up. Tell me, what can I do to make amends? And I promise you I'll screw up again. I play large, I try different things. It's not always going to work out. But I'll clean it up. You tell me what you need to clean it up, I'll clean it up. So I don't have to experience shame about it. It's just, that's what it is, right? So here's the other two things that kicked in around how I got to a place of no shame. I call them the power T's. Truth, transparency. Truth is a fascinating word. I hear people use that word a lot in ways that are fascinating to me, because here's where responsibility comes into play, right? I'm just saying my truth. You did this. Really? Is that the truth? Or in New Thought, the way we try to hide that and couch it a little bit is we go, come on in. You don't have to stand out there. Come on in. Come on down. Put somebody on the spot. Oh, no. And it's their first time here. I'm so ashamed. Yeah. They couch that in, I feel like this, right? When you did that. It's the same thing. And so truth is interesting. Here's the truth. What we embody manifests. That's a truth. It's an absolute truth. What you embody manifests. Here's another one. You are a powerful, creative, spiritual being. And it is only when we forget that things feel like they're out of our hands. And here's where responsibility comes big into play. The more we can take responsibility for whatever's going on, even if it's happening out there, even if it looks like we have nothing to do with it, the more power we have to do something about it. The less we take responsibility, the less we have power to do anything about it. It's not really about, was somebody victimized or not? Because it can feel and it can look like you've been victimized or somebody else has been victimized. And I'm not up here belittling that experience in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that when we talk about taking our power back, it's about being responsible, being willing to say, I'm in charge of this moment for me. And so what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? That was Paladin Gyatso, which I've talked to you about a million times and probably will a million more, when he was imprisoned by the Chinese. It's not like he knew when he was going to be released. He was in prison for 33 years, tortured almost every single day. And every moment he had to remember that he was responsible for his experience. And that's how he says he got through it. By being responsible for himself, even in that. And so I'm thinking if he can do that, we can handle whatever we're confronted with. We can take responsibility and say, this is where the power is, and this is where the truth is. And so I take on that truth. I take on that truth as often as I can. Do I slip up? Sure, I screw up. Not perfect. But it's the key to this teaching is that we focus on, I am a powerful, creative, spiritual being. I can take responsibility for this moment, whatever's going on. And that gives me the power to do something with it, whatever that may be. And then our founder, Ernest Holmes, tells us to abandon the truth in your hour of need is to not understand the truth. And I think that goes on a lot. We don't understand how powerful, even in the midst of a chaotic, all the crazy events that can happen in our lives, we sometimes don't understand how powerful we are to take that moment on in the moment it's happening, or at least as close as possible, right? I'm to the point now where when I'm triggered, and I still get triggered about stuff, second I'm triggered, I go, oh, I'm triggered. Whatever got me there, whatever the event was that triggered me, now that I'm triggered, now it's about me. Right? That shifts it. Now, if I can stay calm, cool, and collected in the midst of whatever the event is, if I can stay centered and remember the responsibility that I have to my own personal power, that I can bring to that moment, well, then I can transform it. But as soon as I'm triggered, then my work is transforming me inside because now I'm triggered. So now it's about me. Now, when that happens for me, I am not always, oh, boom, 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 and transformed, right? Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes work, but that's now where my focus is. And that's been very powerful in my life for getting me to a place of no shame. Which I'm keeping saying because it's like I want to shout it from the mountaintops. This is the coolest thing ever. The second part is the transparency. Ash and I were attracted to each other because we both are committed to transparency. Transparency creates safety. Transparency creates trust. Transparency allows for a motivation, right? So I start out with Ash and I, so we can pick up each other's phones anytime we want to. We both have the other's email accounts on our computers. We can check them if we want to. And sometimes that's been incredibly helpful, like when one of us is out and says, I got an email, can you check it for me? So it's actually been very helpful to have that kind of setup. But it's also very motivating to keep us straight, to keep us clear, to keep us standing in truth. And that carries over to standing up here in front of you guys. I am transparent, you know, in terms of my Facebook and all the different ways in which people can check on you. And so I know that's very motivating to make sure that I'm doing my work. Because I'm no good to any of you if I'm not doing my work, which is really fun for me. And John said to me at the beginning of the year, he says, well, you told all your stories last year, so what are you going to talk about this year? and he was right. And so I thought, well, I better stay current. I better stay with what's happening with me now. And to do that, I got to keep doing my work moving forward. Transparency pays off for that. You want to be motivated to move yourself forward? Be incredibly transparent with everyone. And it will move you forward. I don't experience shame. It's amazing. I was a kid. I was so angry as a kid. And because of lots of reasons. And then as a young adult, particularly in my 20s, I behaved extremely badly at times to other people and carried that guilt and shame for decades about how I behaved. And then got to a place where what I'm doing is making amends. That by being in a life of service, I am making amends. And that brought me to a place of discovery around, you know what? I did the best I could back then. It wasn't so good, but it was the best I could do. And that's what made me realize you're all doing the best you can do. Every one of us. And so we carry these guilt and shame around for what we've done in the past, for what somebody's telling us we might have done now, when all we were doing was our best at every moment, because that's all we got. And you could say, well, they could have done better. You know, the way they treated me, they could have done better. If they could have, they would have. You know, trauma, upset, all kinds of things. And these aren't excuses. I don't use them as excuses. I'm just not ashamed about it anymore. That was my past. I'm not ashamed about it. It happened. I'm not hiding it. It's just that this is who I am now. And whatever I went through, whatever you're going through, is leading you to where you are now. And that's the beauty of this teaching. The truth is you are a powerful, creative, spiritual being. You have more power over your life than you can possibly imagine. And it's only when you give up responsibility or think that you don't, that you're powerful enough to have an experience like you don't. You're that powerful to actually experience not feeling powerful. That's how powerful you are. And so when you realize that, you realize you were just unconscious. You didn't know. I didn't know. When I was an angry young man, I didn't know that it was even possible to live the way I live now. It didn't even occur to me. It wasn't even on my radar. This is what's possible when we stand up for ourselves in a good way, not in a way of back off, but in a way of I'm powerful. There's something about here that's for me. I don't know what it is right now, but I'm going to stand in responsibility for how I behave now in a good way. And do the best you can with that. I don't experience shame anymore. It's amazing, the freedom of it, the weight off my shoulders. You know, shame and guilt are incredible burdens to carry. Do you feel that? Do you feel the burden of it? How it weighs on you? And imagine what it would be just letting that go. It's amazing. I'm astounded. There is no end to how far I am experiencing that there is no end to how far this teaching can take us. There's no end to it, to the practice, to what's possible. I am astounded by the new discoveries I am making in me. And I want you to feel that. I am here knowing that for each and every one of you here, that you get to experience the newness of you, the transformation of you. I want this for each and every one of you. It's possible. It's here. It's magnificent. And it's so light to let go of that kind of burden. I love each and every one of you and look forward to hearing your stories around this. Thank you. I love you.